Does God exist? A very interesting question on which many intellectuals they fail to get a very acceptable answer. Hello friends, welcome to Gita Life, and here we are again at our QA series with Samat Krishna Das. Over to you. Does God exist?
Well, your question seems like asking, does the Prime Minister of the country exist? Why this question comes to our mind? Just because we are not able to see God with our eyes. But my question to you is, do we see the Prime Minister of the country every day with our eyes?
No.
Just like by the presence of the government in the country and all the departments of the government running properly, we can very well assume and understand that there has to be a Prime Minister who is overseeing the entire management of the country. Similarly, when we observe this world around us and the systematic functions which is happening in this world, it is very easy to conclude that there has to be a controller, a maintainer behind this cosmic world. Let me tell you an interesting story. Once a man went to a salon to have a haircut. When the barber was doing his haircut, the barber told the man, "Sir, I don't believe on God." Well, the man asked him, "Why so?" And then the barber told, "You see, sir, if God is there, then there should not be any problem in this world. So many people are suffering. Is God not seeing them? This means He is not there, because if He would have been there, He will be seeing the problems of people and should be doing something about that. So because there are so much problems in this world, I am sure that there is no God in this world." The man having the haircut kept quiet for a while. After the haircut, he went out, and within half an hour he came back to the shop, saloon, and he told to the barber, "My dear sir, you know, in this world no barbers exist." And the barber was confused with what the man is saying. He told, "Sir, how can you say this? Because I myself is a barber." He told, "No, there is no barber exist." And the barber asked, "But why you are telling like this?" He told, "Because when I went out, I saw so many people with hairs. So if there are barbers in this world, there should be no hairs on the head of people." So, and then he gave the understanding that just like people having hairs on their head does not mean that barbers don't exist, because it is people's choice whether they want to come to barbers and have a haircut or not. If they don't come to barbers and allow their hairs to grow, then are the barbers responsible for that?
No.
No. They themselves are responsible. Similarly, when problems comes in our life, when the situations in our life go out of our control, it is very easy to blame that God is not there. But we have to ask an important question from ourselves, that are we following the laws of God? Are we following the principles which govern this entire world? And most of the time the answer will be no. So when problem comes in our life, it is very easy to say that God doesn't exist. Just like somebody saying that barbers don't exist just because I have hairs. Another very important factor why people generally have this question about the existence of God, because they fail to see how God is the invisible hand behind everything. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says a very beautiful verse. He says, "Matta parataram na anyat kinchit asti dhananjaya mai sarvamridam protam sutre manigana eva." Lord Krishna says that, he gives a very beautiful analogy. Have you seen a necklace?
Yeah.
A necklace contains many beautiful pearls. So, all these pearls are hanging on a thread which is going inside it. Is it not?
Yes.
Can the necklace be there without the thread going inside it?
No.
But generally when you see the necklace, do you see the thread?
No.
You don't see the thread, right?
Yeah.
Similarly, in this entire world, when we look in the outer space, what do we see? We see the solar system, we see the sun, the moon, so many stars, the planets all revolving in orbits. So in my childhood I used to wonder how this moon is hanging in the air, how the sun is hanging in the air, how the planets are hanging in the air. Is it not? Similarly, in the micro world, if you see through a microscope, you can see the atoms. In one atom there's electrons, there's protons, there's neutrons. So both at the macro level and at the micro level, we can see a perfect arrangement. So how these things are working so perfectly without any external supervision. So just like in that analogy, the pearls are strung in a thread, but the thread is not visible to us. Similarly, this whole world is functioning. It's maintained by a supreme person called God, and just because you and me cannot see him with our eyes, that does not mean he doesn't exist. Right? So, and we can see, for example, have you seen the beautiful painting of Mona Lisa?
Obviously.
Yeah. Who made it, that painting? Leonardo da Vinci. Right? So, as soon as you see a beautiful piece of art, immediately what comes to our mind is, who is the artist? Is it not?
Yes.
So, we can very easily understand that artistry implies an artist. Similarly, now when we go in this world to some beautiful landscape, for example, say Shimla or some hill station, we see a beautiful mountain range with valleys, sometimes a waterfall. Is it not? So, when we see a beautiful piece of art, a painting, immediately we ask, who is the artist? So, should not we ask the question when we see the natural beauty, that who is the artist of this natural beauty which I see? Somebody has to be the artist.
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you another question. Have you ever participated in your school days in a competition for making paper rolls?
Yes, yes.
Or rolls of paper?
Yeah.
You have to gather some colored papers and you have to cut it in particular ways and join them with gum and a paper flower. And then you may sprinkle some artificial scent to make it fragrant. Is it not?
Yes.
So do you think that some amount of intelligence is required to make that paper flower?
Definitely.
Rose or flower?
Yes.
Is it not? So if for an artificial flower, if somebody requires an intelligence, don't you feel that for the natural original rose flowers and different kind of flowers in this world who are naturally fragrant, very tender, don't you think some intelligence will be required to create them?
Yes.
If it is required for creating an artificial flower?
Yes.
Yeah, like that. Another thing, have you heard about a seed called sequoia seed?
The giant trees you meant?
Yeah. So in the redwood forest in California, you will find the greatest and the largest trees in the world. These trees, their length and their height is sometimes even bigger than a rocket, or sometimes equivalent to the Statue of Liberty. But have you seen the seed of the sequoia tree? It is even less than a half centimeter. Now, how can such a giant, magnificent tree can come in such a small seed of less than a half centimeter? Don't you call it a miracle? Today, with the advancement of our science and technology in the field of computers, we are making silicon chips. In one silicon chip, in a small 16 GB, it's a very small chip. You can store so much data. So don't you feel that the intelligent person behind this creation, whom we call as God, must have done a similar thing? That he can put a giant sequoia tree in a small sequoia seed less than half a centimeter. So don't you call it miracle? Similarly, if you study about the brain, there are so many research done on the brain waves. The neuron cells themselves is a mystery to many scientists. And one of the researchers told that our brain can contain so much information, more than all the information given in all the books of all the libraries in the world. And with this intelligence, today man is creating artificial intelligence, robots. But we have to ask a question. If man can create artificial intelligence, who created the intelligence of the man? So, every creation implies a creator. So, who is the creator behind this creation? Who is the artist behind this artistry? Similarly, who is the designer behind this design? Have you heard of Fibonacci series?
Yeah.
See, this Fibonacci series says that you join the consecutive numbers and you will get a spiral out of it. Amazingly, this is something like a blueprint. If you see this spiral can be found in practical everything. For example, the waves of the ocean, the curve can be calculated with the help of the Fibonacci series. Similarly the pine or the pineapple, even our fingerprints, they are circular. Even they can be calculated using Fibonacci series. So, and you see, mystically, many things in this world can be calculated like that. So, don't you feel it is something like a blueprint for the design of this world? Fibonacci must have discovered it, but that does not mean that such thing didn't existed before Fibonacci. Similarly, let's talk about the laws. For example, say law of gravitation. Who discovered the law of gravitation? Newton. So Newton might have sat under that tree where the apple fell on him, and he started thinking, why the apple is falling down, why it's not going up? And he discovered the law of gravitation. But does that mean that law of gravitation never existed before Newton discovered it? No, it always existed. None of the scientists ever innovated any law. They always discovered that law. Similarly, so we have to ask a question that who is the lawmaker behind these laws? And for that matter, any law, say the law of physics, say the law of thermodynamics, gravitation, motion. So these laws in the nature, in the world, are always existing. The scientists have not created them, they only have discovered them. But then the question comes, who is the creator? So in this way, if we keep asking the question, who is the designer behind the design? Who is the artist behind the artistry? Who is the creator behind the creation? Then we can easily accept the fact that there has to be an intelligent being behind all this thing. A super intelligent creator who actually is doing all these things. Otherwise, how to answer this question, how these things are existing? So, our existence of God, acceptance of the existence of God is not based on blind faith or on our own belief, but on factual logic and reasons, right? Otherwise, we have a question that please then give us logical answers to these questions, that how these things in the world and in the nature are existing if we don't accept an intelligent being. So we don't impose our personal views on others that they have to accept a God, but then it's a matter of reason and logic that we have to get answers that someone has to be there who is intelligently doing all these things, right? You may call him God, you can call him nature, you can call whatever you want, but we have to accept that such a being exists, right? Thank you.
So friends, barber does exist and does to God. A beautiful design implies a designer, and thus this beautiful nature around us implies a creator. And that creator is God, whom we know by different names, as Samat Krishnadas said, nature, and has many names in other religions. So friends, stay tuned about the science of God as we bring out in our future QA series. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.